as most of us do in teenage years, I walked away from all faith, right? I lived for myself, as obvious. And then when I became a father at 16, I knew something had to change. And then when our second one came a couple years later, I knew that our kids needed something, right? There was needed some grounding in faith, because it had been so instrumental in my life. So we found a little Lutheran church in a town close by. Great pastor, but he used to preach against being born again.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's a bummer about the us born again folks, is that
Right.
we tend to say we're the real ones, and the rest of you are the fake
Exactly.
ones.
Well,
Yeah.
his point, on this side of it, his whole point was we make a decision every day to follow Jesus. We found a hugely charismatic church there in town to transfer to, because they were talking about the Holy Spirit. They were talking about all these different aspects of biblical teaching that the Lutheran church just wasn't hitting on. Working, going to school, trying to raise a toddler and have another one on the way, and that was the roughest time of our lives, because we were dirt poor. Actually, many times we would have this fried dough for dinner for the family. I mean, it was rough. And a couple of times we had, the fuel oil would go out in the trailer we were living in, and we had to turn on the stove and put blankets over the doorway to heat the house. It was really rough at the time, but we were making it through together, so it was good. Found Jesus, and I say found Jesus is kind of a cliche, but I mean really became followers of the Lord, and everything dramatically changed in our lives. I got a great job, and it just kind of, I'm not a prosperity guy by any means, although I have listened to Kenneth Copeland back in the early days. But
really,
yeah. I mean, we would listen to anything that would, there was very little as far as that goes. This is prior to internet, man. I mean, this is, you had, network television is what you had, and then you would get an occasional preacher on some obscure channel somewhere. But anyway, so life dramatically changed at that point, whether it was our outlook on life or whether it was a little both. It was just some blessings in our lives. The God was beginning to take care of us, the Creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to move out of that level of poverty and began. Ministry was our thing. We knew that we needed to work with students. We knew we needed to work with teenagers. And I always believed that ministry was what you did, right? I was fortunate enough to be able to, early on, bring together what my passion was with professional work for the Lord, kind of thing. Get paid to do what I was passionate about. My passion for young people and for people coming, mentoring people, and people coming into a deeper understanding of who God is in their lives, and what how we live this life here on earth has never changed. It's just that I was fortunate enough for many years to get paid to do that, to make my living doing that.
Yeah.
And now, through a series of events and just an understanding, I'm still doing that. But I'm getting paid by the state. Through public education. So,
are you a Dallas Willard fan at all? Do you like
he's one of my heroes in the faith? Then he is like my mentor.
Me too. Yeah, he's my main pastor, actually, and has been for the last 8 or 9 years. But in Spirit of the Disciplines, he talks about what we really need is people in not in professional ministry, but actually living for Jesus in work fields, and Jesus could be the best assistant principal around. And so can you do that, as opposed to this weird separation that we've created between secular and sacred? You have access to and are able to bless probably a lot of kids that at least in the
families too, right? I mean, when you're kids, if you've had kids that have grown up, when they hit 12 years old, something happens to them, and right, and parents, most parents come into my office and go, "What do I do with this kid? I mean, last year they were wonderful, and now all of a sudden I don't even know who they are," right? And so that's when the mentoring process takes place, and I can help mentor families as well as students through this awkward kind of growing up years till they get to the high school. which I love it, and
Wow.
if I could, just to go back to Dallas Willard, when he makes a statement, churches have become purveyors of religious goods and services, right? One of his famous quotes. And that's what kind of disillusioned me to full-time pastoring.
Hmm.
Nothing against you, Alex, but so much of my time was spent, just helping the church exist as an organization instead of doing the ministry, right? And
Hmm.
so I didn't understand any other way at the time this transition was happening. But what I've learned, again, 4 years, 5 years after starting to plant that church and getting back into full-time, what we would say secular work, is that, that's where it's at. That's what we need to train people to do and help people to understand, is their life is their ministry, right?
Hmm.
That what we do every day, we take the kingdom
Yeah.
into the world. And because we have the kingdom in us, wherever we have the Holy Spirit in us, wherever we go, is the kingdom can, perpetuate, if you will. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a radical view, and of course, it shouldn't be radical at all. It seems like a lot of people uh, still segment their church life, even strong Christians segment their church life from their non-church life, and that's a
right.
bummer. Yeah.
Everything is spiritual, right? All of life is spiritual. And if you look at the mystics, that's what they understood. They understood
Yeah.
that all of creation, right, is holy,
Yeah.
and everything we do is spiritual, and they
Yeah.
live their lives that way. And that's my hope with my faith, and anybody I can talk to about it, is that's the key, right? We
Hmm.
don't have our faith so that we can go to heaven when we die. We have our faith so we can start living the kingdom life now. Holy Spirit, come.